Hello, hello, hello. What is up, everybody? My name is Mia Hall, and you are tuned in to Brown Girls Glow Live, a show where we teach young women how to live to their fullest potential. The way that we do that is by helping girls give, lead, own, and write their own destiny. And we do that all through the perspective of faith. And today I'm going to be speaking to something specifically about your relationship with God, sharing from my own testimony because, excuse me, I feel like the allergy season is here, but I'm sharing from my own testimony because I know that God has done so many things to allow me to glow that I have to tell it all. I have to share it with the world, and especially young women that may not have had access to the world, or just may want another perspective, right? Consider me your big sister, or auntie, but yes, who wants to just make sure that you live to your fullest potential, that you fulfill your biggest dream, that you know that anything is possible, okay, through those who trust and believe God. He said, with man, this is impossible. With God, all things are possible. Remember that. Okay, so today's subject is about making room, right? 3 ways to maximize your time with God. So I'm not going to be before you long, but let's get started. So, the first time to maximize your time with God is to set a time, right? It was a long time ago that I remember reading where, a pastor talked about setting an appointment with God. And that had to be a good 10 years ago. And it's something that has really helped me to, no matter what, at this time, I know that that is my appointment with God. So, a time and a place is great to have, because not only are you able to keep some consistency, and we all know the power of consistency. And if you don't, it really changes things. Consistency allows you to build momentum. Um, and momentum allows you to grow, right? So I took some notes here, and I just want to share a few scriptures with you as I go through this word. So, setting a time with God, setting a place with God is great, because Jesus had places where he went to speak to God. And also, it shows our diligence, right? So, Hebrews 11, verse 6 says, "But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him," right? So if we want to be diligent about seeking him, we can set a time, we can set a place in order to do so. Some people, and I said I'm going to talk about my testimony. So, I have actually, where I am in this office space, a prayer closet. God has, blessed me with the ability to have, a closet that I can use for prayer. Only recently, when my cousin Monique, shout out to Monique, called me, um, and we were talking about prayer and things like that, and I was like, you know what? I was telling her about these ways to, honestly, maybe telling her the same thing, about maximizing her prayer time and things like that. And I was just saying, about having a dedicated space, and I had a dedicated space for a long time, but I remember watching the movie War Room, and and I know other people that have done this. I know, Dr. Nikki, um, who used to be in a prayer group that my friend Felicia and I started. She had, prayers on the wall. She had scriptures on the wall of her prayer room, and I didn't have anything on my walls, and I was just like, I really want that atmosphere. Like, when you can create an atmosphere of praise, an atmosphere of belief, an atmosphere that is in agreement with what you want to do, the sky is the limit. All right. So I would say, set a time. And even if you can, this is kind of a bonus, set a location, have a prayer closet, or you can have a prayer corner. I remember I was living in my aunt's house. So all I had was a bedroom for 2 years, about 2.5 years while I was living in LA. And, I had a corner. So I had like a little shelf, and that's where I kept like all my spiritual faith books and my Bible and, different, you know, things related to my faith. And, that would be where I hung my prayers up and, have my prayer journal, like, having these things in one place. You can have them in other places too, but if you want that concentrated move of the spirit, it would be good to have a prayer closet, prayer wall, prayer corner. And, even the pastor that I was reading that said that he had this dedicated prayer time, I believe he had like a certain side of the couch. And I know back at when I was with my mom, I think I did, do that for like a season, like had one side of the couch. I believe, I can't remember, um, but the same time, one side of the couch, and you kind of get familiar with that space, and it also brings up memories. Like even in my prayer closet that I have now, I remember being in there and praying for certain things that did come to pass, with the prayer and fasting, I must say. But all right, number two, find a well, this is what we're talking about. But even if you don't have a dedicated place, make sure that you find a quiet place, right? So the scripture about Jesus, well, one of them where it talks about him going to a quiet place is in Mark chapter 1, verse 35. And it reads in the New International Version, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed, right? And in the New Living Translation, it says, before daybreak, the next morning, Jesus got up and went to an isolated place to pray. And so this is the place that we're talking about, right? Going to an isolated place. I was talking about, sometimes you can have the same place, but, Jesus was traveling around, doing his, I was going to say missions, but doing his ministry, right? And, he couldn't have a place. So, and of course, when I travel or, if I'm hanging out with friends, I might pray in the car, you know what I mean? Like it won't always be that place, but I look to have a quiet place. And the reason I look to have a quiet place is going into our next and final point. Don't just speak, listen, right? This is why we want to be in a quiet place, because a lot of times, and I'm guilty of it myself, we might have a tendency to just speak to God. God, this is what I want. Even when we praise and worship, I love you, I praise you, I worship you. All of that, amazing and great. But look to, before you leave your time with God, listen, right? Hear what he's saying to you. Take that time to not just, praise and worship. Even though, of course, that's always okay. But not to just ask for anything, but to leave time to listen. Is he speaking to you at that time? And, you can set an amount of time. And, if you're not hearing anything, now that's another, there are other ways that you can for sure, tune in more clearly, or, tune in closer to the frequency that God is on. And, those ways, celebrating the disciplines, fasting, praying, serving, worshiping, celebration, right? Look up the celebration of disciplines, and quiet out distractions, right? There are plenty of ways to really hear God's voice. I love the example of how, a microphone, right? And when we get further away from God, it's harder to hear him. And it's like the mic is here. And you know what I mean? And we're here. But the closer, more obedient, the things that we do, to really tune in to God. It will help us. Doing these things will help that mic to be, right here to where we can hear it. We can hear his voice, right? So that is my 3 ways to recap. Set a time, find a quiet place, and don't just speak. Listen, right? Listen to tune into what God has to say. All right. So I thank you for listening to what we had to say tonight. If you would like to support this ministry, there's a link in my Instagram bio. But subscribe to the page at Mia Hall TV on YouTube. Make sure that you share this with a friend that might need a word or might want to, maximize their time with God. Follow me at Mia Hall TV on Instagram, at Mia underscore Hall at Mia underscore Hall 19 on Twitter. And thank you for tuning in. Craig, I see Craig join. Thank you for, coming in. Actually, I think I can show this comment. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate you tuning in. I know they always say if one person, if you can speak to one person, then you had a great night. So I appreciate that. So I love you all. God bless you all. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, keep on glowing, keep on elevating. All right? Peace.